Good morning, everyone. I'm really thankful to Kumar sir and Dr. Prashant, who has given me this opportunity to mentor our first speaker, Dr. Shaileja. So, not audible? Yeah. Now audible? Yeah. Okay. So, when I got this call from Dr. Prashant, even I was wondering how to go ahead with this theme with respect to the gynec cases. And when I started discussing with Shaileja, I felt that she has got a lot of thorough knowledge about gynec ops. So I like to first introduce Shaileja. She has done her BHMS uh, from Anand College in 1999, and then she joined our institute, MLA MHI, as a resident doctor. And there she took a lot of experiences in a gynec and ops branch, and was very enthusiastic. And then she finished her MD in 2006. And then since then, I think she's very actively involved with our hospital, Malini Kishore Sangvi at Vadodara. And she's actively involved with gynec ops department. I think she has established and she has gone ahead with a number of activities there. And also very much involved in the number of academic activities and clinical activities. So when she started searching the cases and started discussing, it also rejuvenating experience for me because I am also involved in gynec ops for so many years. And then when we started discussing and we came like of the common point ki how we can go ahead with this stream of the theme, and found ki ET becomes a very important tool, right from the case taking till RREF, if we go the whole case management, and that becomes a primary tool which becomes one of the important tool to introduce the theme. And I found Shaileja was very enthusiastic, very active, and very sporty, and giving like discussing the feedbacks and giving the responding to that and all. And she was very hardworking, I felt. So I think it's a whatever journey which we pass through, she will share through her cases about how to go ahead with these concepts which she has decided to share. Okay, so I will share my mic to Dr. Shaileja. All the best.
So it is important that we are celebrating Golden Jubilee of ICR. It is important for me because this year I am been completing my 25 years of association with ICR. So this is my silver jubilee. Okay. So as ma'am have introduced the topic, we will just not waste the time and proceed. So the topic itself is the concept of and practice of ET in managing menstrual disorder. So our objectives of this presentation is to demonstrate importance of ET in understanding the evolution of patient vis-a-vis the disease phenomena, understanding the importance of concomitant axis to differentiate the core from the form, and exploring how EET helps to align the internal processes of physician in the management of menstrual disorder. Down. So, what are the common issues and what are the difficulties we usually face while managing the menstrual disorder? Because menstrual disorder are the chronic diseases with periodic expression and acute exacerbation. So, the common difficulty which we face is when to give the phase remedy and when to give the deep acting force. That is what we have commonly, the difficulty which we face. So, whether can EET assist in tackling this difficulty and develop the standardized practice in managing this condition? That is what we are going to observe in the 3 cases which I am going to share. This is the case 1. She is a young girl of 15 years. She has complained of menorrhagia since menarche, that is since 4 to 5 months. Her cycle is quite normal, that is 25 to 28 days, but the bleeding lasts for 8, 10 or even 15 days. And when she is coming to the hospital, she is bleeding since 43 days. This is the character of blood with modalities and concomitant. She, on the same day, she was sent for the CBC and her hemoglobin was 6.8. So, because of this bleeding, her hemoglobin is down. So, the clinical diagnosis is puberty menorrhagia with severe anemia. Severe anemia because the HB is below 7, and puberty menorrhagia because the sonography which was done after some days was within normal limit. So, it was observed that her anemia is compensated because she had no symptoms of anemia, as well as her vitals were also quite stable, and that is why the diagnosis is puberty menorrhagia with severe anemia. Homeopathic consideration, it is because functional disease with disturbances at the level of hypothalamo-pituitary ovarian axis, which reflects the constitutional disturbances and which is progressive in nature. Fundamental miasm is SORA and the dominant miasm is also SORA. Case was defined. She had no family history of any illness in her family, and she is born and brought up in a family where there is a father, mother, grandparents, and one elder brother. Father is very irritable and strict by nature. He doesn't like that the daughter should talk to the boys, or he will not like that the girl should go out of the house. So this girl, as a child, had lot of fear about her father, and she will obey her father. She will not go without any permission out of the house, and she will also obey whatever is said by her father. She had also very qualified fears of being alone, of snake and dark. From this, we are able to understand that this is a fearful child, and she had few fights with her brother, but that was not very significant. Mother is relatively cool and calm, and she is very much attached with her mother. If we see her in her work area, she has average performance, and again she had lot of fear of stage, that she would not take any part in the extracurricular activity. So we are able to understand the girl who is fearful, obedient. Uh, the school in her village is only till 8th standard. She wanted to study further, but father said that you cannot go out of the village to study further. So she left the studies, and it was asked to her that why you did not try to convince your father. She said that once my father says that you have to do this, then everybody has to follow it. So she obeys. So we are able to understand this girl as a fearful, quiet and obedient. She had no IPR issues with her teachers or friends. At the level of body, we are able to understand that she is obese with aversion to milk, egg, craving sour and fish. Now this phase of last 43 days where she is bleeding on the concomitant axis, it is distinctly different from the center. So this is the phase which is presented, which is different from the center, which needs some phase remedy. So the phase totality is concomitant of vertigo, menses aggravation walking, that is modalities and character of menses. In repertorization, magnesium carb and pulsatilla was coming up. Magnesium carb was selected on the basis of thick dark molasses. The character of blood was black and thick and with lot of offensivity, offensive like fish. On this basis, the mag carb was selected. This is the chronic totality. She has fear of father, fear of being alone, dark and snakes, obedient, quiet disposition, ailments from puberty, perspiration, cold, craving sour, fish. Calcarea carb and pulsatilla. So calcarea carb was decided as a constitutional remedy. The case was defined, and the same day magnesium carb was given to her in the multiple doses. Within 2 days, her bleeding was 50% better, and in 4 days, the bleeding stopped. Once the bleeding stopped, calcarea carb was given to her as a constitutional remedy. The next cycle was in September. That time also she was given magnesium carb, and this cycle was continued for 14 days. Next cycle was in the October, and that time also the bleeding was for 6 days. This time also magnesium carb was given to her in the multiple time. When the bleeding used to get stopped, calcarea carb was given to her as a constitutional remedy. In November, her bleeding was lasted for 6 days, and this time she did not need any phase remedy, that is the magnesium carb. And her hemoglobin was done in November, which turned out to 9. She was given diet advice, as well as she was given the hematinics were also started. Along with the constitutional treatment, her hemoglobin was raised. So what we learn from this is EET. So application of EET to the case has helped to differentiate the current form of 43 days with black discharge from the usual cycle or the usual phase prescription. Understanding heavy bleeding at each cycle as a constitutional tendency which needs the constitutional treatment, and the constitutional medicine satisfies when it satisfies the susceptibility, the menorrhagia decreases and it eliminates the need of the form. Right. This is case 2. She is 33 years old, Jain Sadhviji. She has complained of menorrhagia since 4 years. Menorrhagia in terms of her cycle is 22 to 23 days, and the duration of bleeding is 12 to 15 days. Now since 1 year, her cycle has turned and the form has changed, almost continuous bleeding, which will not stop without medicine. So the irregularity is so much that cycle cannot be identified, and you can name it as a metrorrhagia. So to start with, she had complained of menorrhagia for 3 years, and now metrorrhagia since 1 year. When she comes to us, there is a continuous bleeding since 1 month with backache and hypogastric pain. So this patient is having menorrhagia along with dysmenorrhea also. These are the concomitants which are there. She has associated complaint of fever since 10 years, fever which is reoccurring every monsoon. So every year she will have fever which is treated by Lariago and always occur in monsoon. She has complained of leukorrhea since menarche, and also she has complained of anal itching with worms in the stool. Past history of cervical lymphadenitis, which turned out to be tubercular, and she was treated with anticox treatment. Clinical diagnosis in this case is abnormal uterine bleeding, menorrhagia and metrorrhagia with mild anemia. Her all investigation were done 1 year back, where she had done a 2-3 sonography and hysteroscopy and DNA, everything was done, and it was sent for the histopathology, which told that this is a simple moderate endometrial hypoplasia with hyperestrogenic state. Other diagnosis is recurrent malaria, worm infestation and physiological leukorrhea. Homeopathic understanding. Fundamental miasm is psychotubercular. Considering the father's family history, father has diabetes and hypertension, paternal uncle has tuberculosis, and she herself has past history of tuberculosis. Dominant miasm is also considered as a tubercular, considering the pathology which is structural reversible, that is endometrial hypoplasia, because of hyperestrogenic state in the absence of progesterone. The weakness which is present as a concomitant to all the sectors, like if there is a malaria, then also there will be weakness. If leukorrhea, then also there will be weakness. And in this bleeding, definitely she has weakness, which was out of the proportion. If we consider the case 1, in that she had 6.8 hemoglobin, still she was quite stable, whereas this lady with 10.6 hemoglobin had a lot of weakness felt by her. All these considered as a tubercular miasm, as a dominant miasm. Case was defined. She is born and brought up in Mumbai at Bhayandar. She has brought up in a very joint family, big joint family, consisting of grandparents, father, mother, paternal uncle, auntie, cousins, and her elder brother. Here the father is very irritable to the level that he will shout and even beat the children. This patient as a child had a lot of fear of her father, and she also used to get angry on the father. She used to even argue with him, but at times she will suppress her anger. She had fights with the brother, they used to beat each other, and we are able to understand the thread of irritability as a disposition in this patient which is evolving since childhood. In work, she was average as a scholastic performer, but she was very good in the extracurricular activities. And especially art, she had lot of inclination for painting. She wanted to pursue the painting as a career in her life. She used to take tuitions and of the small kids and teaching them the painting. So we are able to see the artistic bent of mind of this patient since childhood. Her mother is very cool and calm. Mother used to save the patient and children from father's anger, and she has lot of attachment with the mother and grandmother. If we see in the society, she had many friends. She said that I was known in the whole society and street because of my friendly nature, as against her brother who hardly few people knew him. But she was very famous in her street, and she was very friendly, having lot of friends. We are able to see the nature in the disposition, like friendly, artistic, and irritable with attachment with mother, grandmother. Now when she was 18 years old, she developed the questions in her mind about the life, that what is the purpose of life. And then she came in contact with one of the Sadhviji. She started spending more and more time with the Sadhviji. And then one fine day she decided that I want to take Diksha. For 4 years she underwent the training. In that they have to stay at the Jain Derasar and live the life of Sadhviji. And other time when she is with family, she used to live with the family life, which usually people live. She told her father that I want to take Diksha, but father did not agree. He said that I don't think that you will be able to do this. You will come back, and I don't think that you should do that. Means you come back, that is more shameful. Then, but she was very convinced that no, I just want to take Diksha, I will not come back. And then she finally convinced her father, and she became Jain Sadhvi since 2006. So since 10 years, she is living the life of Sadhviji. Here the life has changed, because life is totally different. They have to follow certain rules, cannot eat after sunset, and there are so many rules which needs to be followed. Here she is more attached with her Guru Ma, who is elderly Sadhvi, and she shares everything with her. She is very sensitive to pain and suffering, and every time cries. She said, I literally cry a lot at the time of hair which is been pulled. That is the process of hair pulling, which in Jain people do. So that time she cries a lot. She also gets angry here in the younger Maharaj Sahib, who are younger person, and she scolds them. So we are able to identify the attributes of this patient as an irritable, impressionable, and lot of attachment. She gets dreams of her mother, grandmother, everyone's dream, even today she have. At the level of body, we are able to see this. She is lean, chilly, aggravation before, during menses, aggravation sun. Now if we observe the concomitant axis, the concomitant axis, since before she took the Diksha, she had only physiological leukorrhea, and once she has taken the Diksha, that is since 10 years, she has started with this fever episode, since 4 years this menorrhagia, and we are able to identify the distinct phase of menorrhagia which is different from the her center. So the concomitant axis help us to differentiate this form from the center. This is the understanding of patient as a person. Non-repertorial approach was taken, and the core conflict was identified as a sensitivity and expression versus control and suppression. The disposition who is very freely expressing herself as a child till adulthood, and now is living the life under the control. That is what was the, and lot of somatization has happened. Calcarea first was decided as a remedy. This is the phase totality. Now follows. On 1st March, the case was defined and she was given phosphorus frequently. Her bleeding did not stop, and the form was again revised. Pulsatilla was given to her, and with that her bleeding was stopped within 8 days. Next cycle was in March. In March, we gave her Pulsatilla to stop the bleeding, and the bleeding was stopped after 9 days. Next cycle was in May. In May, because of the earlier experience, Pulsatilla was started, but it did not give relief. So phosphorus was started and bleeding stopped in the 10 days. Next cycle was in July. In July, she was given phosphorus, she was not better. Pulsatilla was given, not better. Sabina was given, not better. She ultimately started allopathic treatment, and she was advised to start, she was given progesterone pills, and she was advised to start oral contraceptive pills for the 3 months. She called me saying that she is very anxious. She was very anxious whether I should try these medicines, and she was telling me that your medicine is not helping me out. So she was convinced that you should continue with our medicine. That time Calcarea first was given in the 1M potency. After giving 1M potency, we are able to observe the cycles in August, September, October and November, which was lasted only for 4 to 5 days. And that time also she took the Pulsatilla, but later on Pulsatilla was also not given to her. That is in the December, January, February and March. All these cycles were normal, and only Calcarea first was given to her. So what we learn from this ET2? The prolonged fluctuating bleeding as a morbid phenomena as a soil, and the continuous heavy flow since 1 month with few characteristics is the representation of the acute exacerbation of the chronic form. And failure to perceive the current form of 1 month as a separate from the core, and chasing the remedies of phosphorus, Pulsatilla and Sabina without any distinct totality has done the prolonged suffering of patient. Exaggerated response of the system as a whole as a last resort, and the constitutional disturbances needed the constitutional treatment only. So the constitutional disturbances of higher function, when given the deep acting force in 1M potency, then the susceptibility was satisfied and the need for the form was reduced. This is the third case of a 46 years old female with complaint of secondary dysmenorrhea in a perimenopausal age. She was advised by the gynecologist to take painkiller every month or you go for the hysterectomy. She has complained of dysmenorrhea since 2 years. The diagnosis is secondary dysmenorrhea. On examination, the PV examination, uterus is bulky and sonography also showed bulky uterus. Fundamental miasm is tubercular and dominant is psychotic. Because why she has secondary dysmenorrhea? Because of the pathology of hyperestrogenic state in a perimenopausal age, causing lot of secretion of prostaglandin from the endometrium, which causes the uterine contraction and leading to the pain. The case was defined. She is she is belonging to the family where father, mother, 4 elder brother and 2 elder sisters are there. And here also father is irritable. But the difference is she has no fear of her father. She is so pampered and she is being youngest with lot of pampering has done, especially by her father. She used to handle everything since childhood. She will bring the clothes for her bhabhi, elder bhabhi and mother. She would also take the key of the safe. It was with her since she was in 8th standard. And even her elder brother and bhabhi used to ask her that you take the permission from the father because we want to go for a movie. So she was very confident. She had no fear of her father, even though the father was quite irritable. This she said with lot of boasting, and I was able to see that there is a egotism which is there as a dispositional quality. She did the PTC from Mumbai, and her father was very much proud of her because I'll just go through this. So this is what is the, I'll not explain the life space in detail. We are able to see the disposition and center as a egotism, intelligent with sharp memory and boasting and perfectionist at the level of body. This is the characteristic available. And if we now here examine the concomitant axis where the pain is available in the patient, now all throughout her life, she had never experienced the pain. So her centrality is totally different from the form which is available here, and we need to identify this form as a physician. So this is the phase totality. This is the chronic totality. Lycopodium was selected as a constitutional medicine. On the very first day, Thuja was given as a routine prescription, and Macphos was given for her to that was also routine prescription for dysmenorrhea. She was not better in this cycle with Macphos, and the second remedy was selected as a Colocynth. Once the pain was over, Lycopodium was continued, and in next cycle, that is in March, she was better with Colocynth, and the next cycle in the April, she took the Colocynth, but she was not better this time with the Colocynth. So the one cycle, the pain was settled with Colocynth, but in the next cycle, pain was not settled. She said, I had to take the leave from the school, and I cannot bear it. So the Lycopodium was made 203 powder, and the next cycle in the May, her dysmenorrhea was status quo. She was not better with the Colocynth, because Colocynth only was prescribed by the physician. But now today in May, physician became wise and asked her the totality what was there, and Pulsatilla was selected as a painkiller, homeopathic painkiller to her, with which her menses dysmenorrhea was better 80%. In July, she had no need for the stock pills for the pain, and in August, again she was having lot of pain and she was not better with Pulsatilla. At that time, physician made Lycopodium 1M, and once the Lycopodium was made 1M, her all cycles were painless. and she did not need any stock to relieve that pain. She stopped the treatment, and after 6 months, we had a conversation. Why you have stopped the treatment? She said, I am okay. I don't have any problem, so I'm not coming to you. So what we learn from this ET? Differentiating the form of weeping with pain and better by bending double, that is the form of pain which is there, from the core, that is the centrality of the patient, is a periodical expression. And there are a lot of number of forms which are available at the concomitant axis, and number of remedies are also used to handle those forms. This recurrence of the form is a constitutional problem, and that needs a deep acting force to handle with. And when the constitutional medicine in higher potency was given, the susceptibility was satisfied and the forms were eliminated. The routine prescription of antimiasmatic treatment had no impact on the susceptibility. So what we understand from this, that menstrual disorders differ from the chronic diseases in terms of its expression, which appear periodically, that we saw in case 1 and 3, and as an acute exacerbation that was seen in the case 2. This form needs to be differentiated from the core in order to arrive at right choice of the force to be used. And it is a dynamic tool which helps to differentiate form from the core. Frequently practicing AET trains the physician thinking process to a systemic analysis and synthesis. I would like to thank Jagruti madam, especially because she has given me a lot of feedback and discussion, and Kumar sir, Prashant sir, Tamanna, for the helping me out.
Thank you, Dr. Shaileja. She has done a really hard work and the last moment. So, So, thank you, Dr. Shaileja. I think she has made her presentation very well, and it was really a hard efforts, she has put to in this. So, if anybody has any question, just we can ask 1 or 2 questions can be, entertained because of the time limit. If anybody wants to share anything or has any question.
You have in between told that I use Suja 200 as a routine. I don't understand.
Yeah. You'd like to explain?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was the day of screening, and just to give routine prescription, Thuja was given to her.
It was thought that it is a
psychotic miasm. Yeah. Considering miasm as a psychotic.
So through and through, if you see the psychotic presentation, so it's like a routine practice. Now you give Thuja. So that how it helped her further. This Thuja has
no effect. Yeah, that is.
And actually, the activity of the dominant miasm was not so much, and it was cleared out very well by the constitutional drug. As you see later on when given the higher potency, Calcarea phos. Sorry.
Pandya, one question.
Basically, idea of sharing this experience was that we are having so many SCR tools, and out of that, EET is a very important tool which we have found. Right from the case taking, if you see where the way she has said, you go from the form and then you connect to the disposition. To what level you want to go in depth. So, if you can differentiate that, you will understand whether this case demands what. Whether it demands anything to chase with the form or to deal with the disposition. So, how do you decide that? That is an EET, and that is a heart of any case management. And that was a focus.
The other issue was in the case number 2. You
Huh.
had a statement about the same form of constitutional remedy. Whether have you retrospectively studied menstrual symptoms of Calcarea phos?
Yeah, she has done the references.
So that was
Yeah.
not, that should have been demonstrated.
Yeah. She has done that references.
Okay. Can I ask Dr. Bhatia?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.